Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem, welcome back to today's Daf, Hayomi Meseches MEILAH Daf Tes. We begin at the Mishnah, which is partway down the Amud, so it's at the beginning of the white lines. We go back to that three-phase Kedusha process. We discussed Chata Sa'if with the three stages of Kedusha. Now we proceed to MEILAH Sa'if and many more types of Karbanos, which we discussed in this Mishnah. But the repetitive theme here is that typically it's a multi-stage process, three in number. You begin with a basic Kedusha, then it gets upgraded to more advanced, and then the completion of the Hakrava, which triggers its own halachos. So beginning with MEILAH Sa'if, which is different than a Chata Sa'if, which loses its MEILAH status as soon as you finish the Hakrava, you do the Haza'ah, because at that point it becomes permissible for the Kaihanim to consume, which eliminates the MEILAH component. MEILAH Sa'if, however, will maintain its MEILAH all the way through because nobody's eating it. It's going on Mizbeach until it's completely incinerated. At that point, it's considered Na'asas Mitzvah, its mitzvah has been fulfilled, its destiny had been completed, and then it deactivates the MEILAH. So let's see, MEILAH Sa'if. First stage is when you are verbally magdish it. You say Harei Za'ila. At that point, there is a Kedusha, a basic level of Kedusha, and there's MEILAH as well. Me'alan ba. MEILAH would apply to the bird if it's misused for personal reasons. Mishahugdasha, once it's designated as an MEILAH. Next step is Nimlika. Once the Milika, clipping off of the head of the bird, takes place, that's the initiation of the Hakrava process. It's one of two phases. First comes the Malika, and then comes the Mitzui Dam, where they squeeze out the blood on the Mizbeach. So Malika takes up to the next level, makes it more Kaddish, and makes it more fragile, more delicate, more sensitive to even residual elements of Tumah, which will affect it now. Right? That's the way it works. Hashem made two parallel systems. Zeh luma zeh, says the pasuk. Zeh luma zeh, so the opposing powers of Tumah, etc., are in proportion and ratio to the level of Kedusha that is present. They're coming to challenge that Kedusha, so the higher you go in terms of the Kedusha, likewise, it attracts, so to speak, the other opposing forces and is susceptible to them. Nimlika, Hukshur, it becomes enabled, the puzzle to become puzzle through contact of even a Tulyoim who has a very low degree of Tumah, but Tulyoim, a fellow is awaiting his Karbanos, Uvalina, it stays overnight, past the day of Hakrava, which is today. If you leave it overnight, it loses its kashrus. The final phase is Mitzah Dama. You squeeze out the blood of the bird, that's the completion of the Hakrava, after which it goes on the Mizbeach. So once the avodah is done, it activates everything else. Chayav and alav mishum pigel. There was a pigel thought throughout. Now it gets manifested. Noisar, it stays overnight. There's karas upon eating it, tummy, and there's karas if a person eats it when he's tummy. It's a fully processed carbon. However, MEILAH is still there until it's placed on the mizbeach and burnt. Ume'alan ba, there's MEILAH pertaining to it, asher teis beis hadesh, until it's taken out to the beis hadeshin. Rashi explains what it means to say is that after it's burnt on the Mizbeach, there is another mitzvah called Trumas Hadesh, and they take a shovel of ashes off the Mizbeach, they place it on the floor alongside the wall of the Mizbeach, where it's swallowed into the ground miraculously. That's the next mitzvah that takes place. So until that point, it's still considered an active carbon material, which has Kedusha and MEILAH, but once that's done, the mitzvah has been fully completed. It's called Nasas Mitzvah, and there's no longer MEILAH. Next item is going to be a repetitive system. One phase, another phase of Kedusha, with a final one at the end. Param and Esrafim, Sirah and Esrafim, these are kachim, which are meant to be totally burnt on the Mizbeach. There's no eating them. Mayalan ben Mishahugdashu, MEILAH begins at the Hekdesh. Nishchatu, the next level happens starting from Shchita, where the Avodah begins. It becomes susceptible to those tumas we discussed, whose Adaman, once the blood of these karbanos had been sprinkled on the Mizbeach, that's the final phase of the Avodah, that activates Pigul, Noisar, and Tamei, Chayavan Alem Shem Pigul, Noisar, Tamei, and MEILAH is still present until it's burnt. Even in the place of the burning, you still have MEILAH until the flesh gets totally burnt up. Rashi says it turns into ashes, and that's considered Nasas Mitzvasan, fulfill the destiny of this carbon, at which MEILAH becomes deactivated. Ha'olah. Now we turn to an animal oilah. At Hekdesh, it triggers MEILAH. Nishchata, once the Shchita, which is the first phase of the Avodah, takes place, it's considered karba material. Hokshura becomes enabled, possibly become disqualified through a contact with a bitful yaim, once the blood is sprinkled on the Mizbeach, it activates the other halachas. There's no MEILAH on the hides of the karban oilah. That goes to the kohanim for their personal needs. But avol me'alim b'basar, there's MEILAH on the basar until taken out and burnt. So until it's burnt out of the Mizbeach and the Tumas Hadeshin had been executed. Chatas v'ashem. V'ziv chesham mitzibur, you have public shlomims. These are examples of Kadosh Kadoshim. Very similar halacha to before. Moyalim Mishogdish, once you magdish, there's MEILAH. Nishchata, once a shchita take place, Hushru, they become enabled, they possibly become disqualified through the association with a Tful Yom, Purim. And if they left overnight, they become Pasul Ubalina. Nizrak, once the blood had been Nizrak on the Mizbeach, it activates the status of Pigul, Noisar, and Tummy liabilities. Mishum Pigul, Noisar, Tummy. Now, Ein Ma'al B'Basar, in contrast to the oilah where there's MEILAH all throughout, here there's no MEILAH on the Basar, once the Zrika take place, which gives it a green light for the Kohanim to consume. It's no longer considered Kachei Hashem. Avol Ma'al B'Marim, but the fats and the parts that are belong to the Mizbeach, MEILAH is still there until it turns into ashes. Two breads that are brought along with the karbanos on Shavuos, once you designated there's MEILAH. Kamar Batana, once they crust they start baking in the oven. At that point, they're classified as bread, and they're karba materials. Hochshru, they become enabled, they become possible. Now, there's no mentioning of lina here. You know why? Because they're meant to last for a couple of days. You bake them before Shavuos, for Shavuos use, so lina here is not a factor. Okay, so at that point it becomes karban material, and it becomes enabled to shech the karban on their behalf and make them kaddish. At that point they're one entity with the karban. And once you do zrika on the blood of the kvasim, that concludes the avodah on the breads as well. So they're susceptible to these halachas. Ve'ein bein MEILAH, of course not, because they're meant to be eaten by the kohanim. Lechem apanim, which is the weekly bread. Once the hekdesh takes place, is MEILAH. Karim bataner starts baking in the oven and starts crusting. Hochshar li'pasol b'tvoyim v'chos kippurim. And again, there's no mention of lina because these breads are meant to stay on the shulchan for many, many days. At that point, they become kosher to be placed on the shulchan in the heichal. Korah b'zichen. So this is this Shabbos. Next week on Shabbos, we switch the breads. We take out the last week's breads and we exchange it with new breads. And then they also remove the bazichen, the spoons that contain the lavoina material, and you burn it on the mizbeach. And that's considered like the kmitza of a mincha, like the blood of a korban. That's the representation for the entire package. Once that happens, that concludes the avoid of the breads. Chayav alav mishum pigul noiser atami. Ve'boy MEILAH, of course, it's meant to be eaten. Hamanaches. Final item in the Mishnah, a regular mincha. What are the phases there? Mo'yalan bohen mishogdashu. Once the hekdesh takes place, is MEILAH. Kitchub b'kli. Once they become kaddish and kli sharis, they turn into karba materials. Hochshu, they become enabled, they possibly become affected b'tvul yom, u'b'mechus kippurim, u'b'lina. Karva kaimitz. So they scoop out the kaimitz and put it on the mizbeach. That is the conclusion of the avodah on the mincha. And that activates all the other labels. Chayav and Mishum Pigel Neser V'Tamim. There's no Meilah b'Shirayim because the Shirayim meant for the Kayanim to eat. Avo Me'al b'Kaimetz, there's Meilah on the Kaimetz until it turns into ashes. Ashiyetz b'Sadeshin on the Mizbeach. Itmar. So what happens with the ashes on the Mizbeach? So Rashi explains like this. The karbanos turn into ashes. After which they do Trumas Hadeshin, like we explained. You take a sampling of ashes, place it on the floor, it gets enveloped in the floor. What happens to the rest of the ashes? They shovel it to the middle of the mizbeach. It turns into a big pile. It's called tapuach, like an apple, like a round pile. After a while, when it really fills up, there's one more sort of avodah. We're going to see in a minute if it's classified as avodah. Where a kohen wearing big kahuna, although it's lower grade begadim, not as elegant as the one that he wears when he does the actual karbanis, but big kahuna nevertheless, a kohen wearing big kahuna is required to be involved in transporting the ashes to a place called Shefach Hadeshin, which was outside Yerushalayim. Incidentally, I mentioned this once in the Shir, a startling discovery. It's not around today, but about 100 or so years ago, on the turn of the 20th century, it was still there. To the north of today's, the present Old City, there was this huge pile, which was known as Shefach Hadeshin. Believe it or not, there was a huge pile of ashes, a mound of ashes, of burnt materials, which traditionally was known to have been the Shefach Hadeshin location where they would transport all the ashes from the Beis HaMikdash. And we're talking about tons of materials, and it was there for thousands. It was there since the Churban Beis HaMikdash, and it was known that this was the place was undeveloped, not like today where everything is built over and the roads. So it was just sitting there. And in fact, I read that there was a big tzaddik in Europe, and he heard about it, and somebody had traveled there, and he brought him back. He went, rummaging through. He looked through he found a part of like a horn of a korban. It's mutter b'hanok, it's already, burnt and nasas mitzvah. So he brought it back to this tzaddik in Europe, and he was like overwhelmed. Imagine a horn of a korban from his Beis HaMikdash. He was like beside himself. They say eventually the Arabs would, there was some soap factory that they would use the ashes for making of soap, and eventually it just dissipated and it's no longer. But there's accounts from travelers who travel the area, and they speak about this phenomena called Shefach Hadeshin, the mound of ashes. So that's where they would transport the ashes from the Mizbeach. So the question is like this. Before Trumas Hadeshin took place, of course, there's Kedusha on the ashes and there's MEILAH. There's no question about that. What happens post Trumas Hadeshin, but pre-transporting outside to the Shefach Hadeshin? So that's a procedure that has to take place, but that to note that there is Kedusha and MEILAH on the ashes until that's done or not. The machlokes. Rav says MEILAH is over with, whereas Rabbi Yochanan says the fact is we still have to transport it with a kohen. Apparently, it's still awaiting another phase of mitzvah of avodah, which is only completed upon transportation to outside the Shefach Hadeshin area. In which case, until then, there's still an element of kedusha which justifies MEILAH. If one misuses me'efer tapuach, shall come a mizbeach from the ashes which are piled onto the middle of mizbeach after Trumas Hadeshin, Rav Amar, there's no MEILAH. There's no element of kedusha anymore. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, there is MEILAH lefnei Trumas Hadeshin. Now, if it's still before Trumas Hadeshin, which is certainly considered an integral mitzvah pertaining to the ashes, all agree there's still MEILAH there. The question is, once Trumas Hadeshin happened, is considered fulfilled, destiny fulfilled. Rabbi Yochanan Amar, the pasuk does speak about a kohen doing the transportation. The kohen wears his big kahuna. Big kahuna indicates avodah. Given the tzarech, the big kahuna is required to wear the begadim. Big dushasi kohen. Apparently, he's doing avodah, and the ashes still have kedusha and MEILAH. Tanan. let's go back to our Mishnah. We speak about materials which have to be burnt. There's Me'ilah until that point, until it's taken out of the Beis HaDeshen. That's a kasha l'Rav who says there's no Me'ilah once Trumas HaDeshen took place. And here it seems like there's Me'ilah until it's taken out of the Beis HaDeshen. Amalach Rav, no, let's re-understand the words of the Mishnah. Mishnah means like this. Me'ilah only is active until Trumas HaDeshen, at which it becomes available to be taken out to the Beis HaDeshen. Meaning, only until Trumas HaDeshen, that's it. That's the end of the process, after which there's no longer Me'ilah. We turn to the next page. Meisvei, Rav Akasha, V'kula. Rashi explains it pertains to a Gemara in Zvachim, which speaks about, what about the bones of a korban? What about the beard of the goat? And all these materials, if they're still attached to the animal, they go up on the mizbeach together with the rest. But if it's separate, then you don't take it up. Now, let's say it's already up there and it splattered. It got the fire expelled it. Sometimes the fire does that; it like shoots things out. So they shut off the mizbeach. You don't need to take it back up there. V'chula meisbe v'chula shepaku. It came flying off me'al gamim mizbeach. So the fire shot it off. Lo yachzor, you doesn't have to put it back. While it's up there, you leave it there. But once it's down, you don't have to. And the Brisa continues. V'chein, and likewise gachelas. You have a coal. Rashi explains that presumably coal here can mean even a coal that was already shoveled to the middle of the mizbeach, to the pile. So it's after Trumas HaDeshen had been carried out. And now this coal, Rashi explains, fell back into the ma'aracha, to the fire there. So it got sort of reconnected to the hakrava process, and then the fire spit it out, and it landed on the floor. Shut off the mizbeach, he doesn't have to return it. Let's make a diuk. That's good, it's on the floor. But let's say it's still sitting on the mizbeach somewhere. It's been expelled to the side of the mizbeach off the fire. It sounds like you have to put it back into the fire. But it's still on the mizbeach somewhere. You have to return it. So look after it. Make sure it gets burnt. What do you mean? It's after Trumas HaDeshen. Nasas mitzvasai. Has no kedusha. Bishlam the Rabbi Yechon. Rabbi Yechon works very well. Last kedusha. The Rav, according to Rav, who says kedusha expires after Trumas HaDeshen kasha, what do you have to look after it? Amalach Rav. Rav responds like this. I'm talking about ashes. Here it's a coal which has substance. Shan gachelas is b'mashasha. Mashasha is like mamash, substance. In Aramaic it changes to mashasha. It has mamashas, has substance. This, of course, I agree, would have kedusha in this case, and you have to look after it. Ikad amar lalach gisa. Some had a different direction to this discussion, which actually was a kasha on Rabbi Yechon. Because time with the mishum gachelas is b'mashasha. It seems from the Brisa, you only have to look after it because it's a gachelas which has substance. But if it will be ashes in the same similar circumstance, I feel even if it's someone on the mizbeach, there's no Me'ilah. Kedusha is gone. Rav Nichel going to Rav, that works very well. Because he says after Trumas HaDeshen, the Kedusha expires. El Rabbi Yechon says it's still Kedusha maintained. Kasha, so why don't you have to look after it? Amalach Rabbi Yechon, he would respond like this. Then the same exact rule would apply by ashes as well. I feel Efer, that it has Kedusha. The reason why the Brisa stressed the coal, to teach us, to highlight, to teach us, I feel gachelas, these from a shasha, to teach us that even the coal which has substance, once it lands on the floor, leave it there. If it's off the mizbeach, you don't have to return it. But you're right, if it's still on the mizbeach, whether it's a coal or ashes, it still maintains its kedusha and has to look after. Okay, so bottom line, ashes on the mizbeach. Pre-Trumas HaDeshen, all agree there's kedusha and there's Me'ilah. Post Shevach HaDeshen, everything expires. What about in between? Between Trumas HaDeshen and Shevach HaDeshen, Rav says there's no kedusha, no Me'ilah. What Rabbi Yechon there is. Itzma. What happens if a person did Me'ilah? Hanana, he misused Mibasa Kadosh HaKadoshim Pnei Zrikas Damim. He took the Basa of Kadosh HaKadoshim before Zrika, with the Me'ilah still present. Or likewise, Umei Amura Kachim Kal Machaz Zrikas Damim, took the fats and Mizbeach materials of Kachim Kalim after Zrika, where the MEILAH had been activated. So he has to repay. The question is, where does he send the check to? Which address? Rav Amar, Mashanena, Yipul Nadava. The money goes on Nadava. It's a public, fund to purchase Karbonos Oila. It's called Kayet HaMizbeach, the desserts of the Mizbeach. Meaning when the Mizbeach is idle, they would use this money to keep the Mizbeach active with Karbonos Oila. So it's basically a version of a public Karban Oila. That's where the money goes. You misuse the Karban, repay to the Nadava fund. Levi Amar, no, that's not. You have to make sure that's fully offered on the Mizbeach. You see, the Karbonos Oila that Rav speaks of, although the actual carbon is on the Mizbeach, but the Oiros go to the Kohanim. So they take sort of a commission. It's not fully on the Mizbeach. I need it to be fully back on the Mizbeach. That's a true repayment of the MEILAH. Levi Amar Yavi Davar Shekula Mizbeach has to bring something which is completely, totally on the Mizbeach. No commissions. What is that? That's Teres, says Rashi. The incense. He bought and fully burnt on the Mizbeach. We're going to have a brisa in support of a Levi, that it's Teres, and in support of Rav, that it goes on the Nadava. Tanakh said to Levi, we have a right to Levi. You have to repay in Teres form. Where does he send back the MEILAH? Halamedim. So we have a brisa, Halamedin Lefnei Chacham, which was presented by those who learned before the Chachamim. Rashi says actually it's Levi himself who has that title in Masechah Sanhedrin, Daf Yud Zayin Amud Beis. So he's the one who's quoting Rebbe, who presented this brisa. So what is the brisa? MEILAH zu lechan elechas. Where does the money go to? Right? Halamedim Lefnei Chacham Aimrim Yavi Davar Shekula Mizbeach. It's meant to finance material which is completely presented on Mizbeach. What is that? My new Ketairis. So that's where he sends the check to. Tanakh say the Rav, that the MEILAH money goes to Dava, Hanena with Mechatos, with Me'asham. So the brisa begins with other types of MEILAHs, and then we're going to get to our point. A fellow has a Chatos fund, money set aside to buy a Chatos. Or with Me'asham, he has an Asham fund, and he misuses that money. What happens to his repayment? If he's repaying before he actually proceeded and was makar of his chatas with that money, guess what? Throw in your money into that same fund, expand it, and buy a nice, elegant carbon. That's a perfect means of repaying the MEILAH. Look, you took from the chatas fund, repay it to the chatas fund, and buy a nicer carbon. Yosef, he adds his money to the fund via chatas and brings a nice fat chatas. Same thing with the Asham. If he's repaying before he already makar with the Asham, so he still has the money, still has the availability to add to it. Yosef, so he adds and he brings a nice Asham. Let's say it's too late, Karva Chatas, he already did the Chatas. This money will have to be destroyed. It's doomed. It's extra Chatas money. There's no function, there's no need. Take the Yamamelch, let it sit on the bottom of the Yamamelch, eventually it's going to corrode. Likewise, Karva Asham, if the Asham had been offered, so too late to add to that, you put in Dava. This money goes on a dava, and Rashi says that's the rule. Wherever the chatas money is doomed, in a parallel situation by the asham, it goes on a dava. Now comes the point of our discussion. He partook in the kachim kadashim material before zrika, which triggers MEILAH, or kachim kalim after zrika. What happens to that repayment? Mashanena yiplu l'nadava goes to the nadava fund as per Rav's opinion. The brisa concludes, Kol karbonos mizbeach l'mizbeach. If a person misuses a carbon mizbeach, chatos, etc., so his repayment goes l'mizbeach. It goes to like we said, the public oila fund, which eventually will end up, as a carbon mizbeach. Karbonos kosher bedek habayis, if he partook with from the bedek habayis materials, something which had been donated to the building fund, so correspondingly his payment goes to the bedek habayis. Karbonos tzibur, and Davas tzibur partook in public karbonos, so that repayment goes towards the karbonos tzibur, which is the nadava fund, as we explained. Okay, we'll leave it here. We'll pick it up from tomorrow with further elaboration on this price. But in any case, we clearly have a raya to both shitos regarding where to send the MEILAH money. Is it to the nadava fund, or in a Ketores format for the Mizbeach. Okay, so let's recap today's daf. We have a Mishnah with a long list of karbanos with their phases of Kedusha, starting from the Hegdish to the beginning of the Akrava to the conclusion of the Akrava. We discussed the status of the ashes before Tumas Hadeshin. There is MEILAH. After it's been taken to Shev Hadeshin, there is no MEILAH. In between, there's Machlokes, and what is meant to be done with MEILAH repayment, whether it's Nedava or Keteres or Machlokes, and corresponding to two brises. All the best to you, and Atzlacha Rab.